The conference room smelled like polished leather and quiet ambition. It was the kind of place where decisions were made without emotion and power changed hands without warning. Lena paused at the doorway, a slim leather folder tucked under her arm, and watched her older sister Valerie command the room. Valerie sat confidently at the head of the long mahogany table, clicking through slides as she explained quarterly projections to the board of Orion Digital Systems, the company their late father had built from nothing. No one noticed Lena standing there. That, she thought, had always been the point. Lena had dressed for invisibility. A navy suit, simple earrings, hair pulled back tight. Professional, forgettable. Valerie, now acting CEO, spoke smoothly. "We've identified cost-cutting opportunities," she said. "The veteran hiring initiative is draining profits by over 2% annually." Few board members nodded. Lena's fingers tightened around her folder. That program had helped hundreds of veterans transition into tech careers. Their father had called it his proudest achievement. Valerie called it waste. When she finally looked up and saw Lena, her voice faltered. "What are you doing here?" Valerie snapped. "This is a closed board meeting." "I'm attending," Lena said calmly, stepping inside. "You're not on the board," Valerie said. "You don't even work here anymore." She turned sharply toward the door. "Marcus, please escort my sister out." Marcus, the head of security, didn't move. He was a former soldier Lena herself had hired years ago. He cleared his throat slowly. "Ms. Reed owns controlling shares in the company as of last week." The room stilled. "She's the majority shareholder." Valerie's face drained of color. "That's impossible," she said. "The shares were split evenly." "Not exactly," Lena replied, taking the seat across from her. She placed the folder on the table. "Dad left 70% to us, 35 each. But Mom owned the remaining 30%. She met Valerie's eyes. "She sold them to me." Silence fell heavy. Valerie's hands trembled. "You went behind my back." "I went through the law," Lena said. "Something you seem to have avoided." Lena opened the folder. "This covers the last 8 months of your leadership." She slid out the first document. June 15th. "You shut down the veteran hiring program and fired its coordinator, Hannah Cole." Patricia, the HR director, frowned. "I was told that role was redundant." "Hannah is a decorated veteran," Lena said. "She placed over 100 candidates." Valerie said nothing. "July 3rd, Lena continued. "You sold the community training center." "Yes," Valerie snapped. "It was underperforming." "You sold it to yourself," Lena said quietly. Gasps circled the table. Lena passed around appraisal reports. "The building was worth $3 million. You sold it for under $2 million. Richard, the CFO, leaned forward, reading fast. "The buyer is listed as Vale Development. Registered 3 months earlier," Lena said. "Sole owner, Valerie Reed." Valerie stood abruptly. "You're twisting this." "I'm documenting it," Lena replied. "Dad taught me that paperwork outlasts excuses." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "August 10th, Lena said, pulling another file. "You raised your salary from $180,000 to $420,000. That's market rate," Valerie argued. "It isn't," Richard said, already checking data. "September," Lena continued. "You attempted to sell proprietary software to Cortex Global." Patricia blinked. "That's our competitor. And Valerie's fiancé runs acquisitions there," Lena added, sliding printed emails across the table. One line stood out. "Once this closes, we can start the villa renovation." Valerie's voice cracked. "You were never here," she said. "I held this place together." "I was watching," Lena said. "You told everyone I was unstable. You told Mom I couldn't handle business. You told my brother I didn't care." Daniel's name hung in the air. Lena remembered sitting at their mother's kitchen table months earlier, comparing stories. Messages ignored. Calls unanswered. Lies stacking neatly. That was when their mother had spoken softly. Family isn't who controls the story, she'd said. It's who tells the truth. The vote was swift. Valerie was removed as interim CEO. A forensic audit was approved unanimously. Lena reinstated the veteran program immediately. Hannah Cole will be offered her job back with back pay, she said. And Michael Grant? Patricia asked. He returns as CTO, Lena said. With a raise. Valerie whispered. You're destroying me. No, Lena said evenly. I'm stopping you. Weeks followed with quiet efficiency. Investigators. Lawyers. Reversals. Accountability. The company steadied. 6 months later, Lena stood in the reopened training center, watching graduates celebrate new jobs. Veterans. Single parents. People her father had believed in. Hannah smiled beside her. He'd be proud, she said. He would, Lena agreed. Marcus approached. Your sister is here, he said. She wants to apologize. Lena thought for a moment. Tell her I'll meet her in 3 months, she said. After she's done the work. Forgiveness wasn't owed. But accountability was possible. And that was enough. The audit began quietly, without drama. Lena preferred it that way. Forensic accountants arrived on a Monday morning carrying laptops and neutral expressions. Valerie was escorted out of the building by noon. She didn't protest. She barely spoke. The silence around her was louder than shouting. In the boardroom later that day, Richard closed his laptop and sighed. If even half of this checks out, he said, we're looking at criminal exposure. Lena nodded. Then we document everything, she replied. No shortcuts. No favors. That was the rule now. By the end of the first week, the numbers told a brutal story. Inflated consulting fees. Undervalued asset sales. Shell companies traced back to Valerie's personal accounts. Patricia rubbed her temples as the findings were projected on the screen. She was bleeding us dry, she said. No, Lena corrected gently. She was carving us up. The distinction mattered. One was incompetence. The other was intent. Lena felt no satisfaction, only confirmation. Grief had sharpened her patience, not dulled it. She had waited long enough to be certain. The board voted to freeze Valerie's remaining shares. A clause buried deep in their father's will allowed it. He planned for this, Richard said quietly. He always planned for people's worst instincts, Lena replied. Legal notices went out that afternoon. Valerie's attorney called twice. Lena declined both times. She wasn't avoiding conflict. She was protecting process. Every step had to be clean. Every decision defensible. The company had survived one betrayal. It wouldn't survive another. Born of haste, Hannah Cole returned the following Monday. She walked into the building cautiously, like someone entering a place that had once hurt her. Lena met her in the lobby. I'm sorry, Lena said before anything else. Hannah blinked, then nodded. Thank you for saying that. You'll have full authority to rebuild the program, Lena added. And compensation for the months you lost. Hannah smiled, small but real. Then let's get to work. That was how healing began. Quietly, without ceremony. Michael Grant's lawsuit concluded even faster. The NDA was voided within days. He returned with sharper boundaries and clearer confidence. I won't stay silent again, he told Lena. I don't want you to, she said. They rewrote policies. Together. Whistleblower protections. Transparent reporting channels. Open board access. Systems that didn't rely on trust alone. Lena believed in values, but she also believed in safeguards. Her father had built with hope. She would protect with structure. Outside the company, the fallout spread. Vale Development dissolved under investigation. Properties were seized. Counts frozen. Valerie's engagement quietly disappeared from social media. Lena didn't follow the details. She didn't need to. The consequences were no longer hers to manage. Her responsibility ended at truth and repair. Everything beyond that belonged to the law, and to Valerie herself. 3 months in, Orion released its first earnings report under Lena's leadership. Growth exceeded projections. Veteran hires increased productivity. Retention improved. The board sat straighter during meetings now. There was less performance, more substance. "You've changed the culture," Patricia said one afternoon. "No," Lena replied. "I restored it." The difference mattered. She wasn't building something new. She was uncovering what had been buried. The community training center reopened with expanded hours. Childcare. Transportation stipends. Partnerships with local schools. Lena toured the building with Daniel one evening. "I didn't realize how much you carried," he said. "I didn't either," she admitted. They stood watching students work through code together. No hierarchy. No manipulation. Just learning. Daniel smiled. "Dad would have loved this." "I know," Lena said. And for once the thought didn't ache. Valerie's first letter arrived shortly after. It was handwritten. Apologetic. Vague. Heavy on emotion, light on accountability. Lena read it once, then filed it away. Words were easy. Work was not. A second letter followed. Then silence. Lena didn't chase closure. She had learned that closure wasn't something others gave you. It was something you decided. When Marcus informed her that Valerie had enrolled in the mandated ethics course, Lena simply nodded. "And the volunteer hours?" Lena asked. "He signed up at the Veteran Services Center," Marcus said. Lena paused. That mattered more than the letters. Still she waited. Change, if real, was slow. Anything rushed was just another performance. The graduation ceremony filled the main hall 6 months later. 32 students crossed the stage. Applause echoed off the walls. Lena stood at the back, hands clasped, watching faces light up with possibility. "This is why we fight," Hannah said beside her. "This is why we document," Lena replied. Both were true. Purpose needed proof. Hope needed protection. Marcus approached quietly. "Your sister finished the course," he said. "And the volunteer hours." Lena exhaled slowly. "Schedule a meeting," she said. 1 hour. "No press," Marcus added. "Of course not," Lena said. "This isn't a performance." She didn't know what she expected to feel. Relief, anger, satisfaction. What she felt instead was readiness. Whatever happened next would happen on honest ground. Valerie looked smaller when she arrived. No sharp suit. No practiced confidence. Just tired eyes and folded hands. "I was wrong," Valerie said immediately. "Yes," Lena replied. "I hurt people," Valerie continued. "Yes." The simplicity unsettled her. There was no argument left to win. "I don't expect forgiveness," Valerie said. "Good," Lena answered. "Then we can talk about accountability." They spoke plainly. No history rewritten. No pain minimized. Valerie listened more than she spoke. When the hour ended, Lena stood. "This doesn't fix us," she said. "I know," Valerie replied. "But it closes a chapter," Lena added. That too mattered. Not reconciliation. Resolution. After Valerie left, Lena remained in the room alone. She thought of her father. His patience. His stubborn belief that people could do better if given structure and consequence. "You were right," she whispered. The company was steady. The mission intact. The future unburdened by lies. Orion continued to grow, not explosively, but sustainably. Partnerships formed. Trust rebuilt. Employees spoke up. Problems surfaced early instead of festering. Lena insisted on one rule above all others. No single person was untouchable. Not even her. At a board retreat months later, Richard raised a glass. "To leadership with a spine," he said. Lena smiled. "To systems that don't rely on heroics." They laughed, but the truth settled comfortably between them. Late one evening, Lena walked through the empty halls of the building her father once cleaned himself after long days. She touched the wall near his old office. "We kept it," she said softly. The echo answered nothing. It didn't need to. She had learned that justice wasn't loud. It was meticulous. That love wasn't blind. It was attentive. And that power, when used correctly, didn't dominate. It protected. Lena turned off the lights and locked the door behind her. The balance sheet was finally honest. People were seen. The work mattered again. And for the first time since her father's death, she walked away without weight on her chest, knowing the story was no longer about survival, but stewardship. Time moved differently once the crisis passed. Weeks stopped feeling like emergencies and started feeling like progress. Lena settled into her role fully, no longer acting, no longer reacting. During meetings, she listened more than she spoke. When she did speak, people paid attention. Not because of authority, but because she was consistent. "We don't rush decisions here," she reminded the team often. "We understand them." The company learned to breathe again, and that mattered more than speed. One afternoon, Daniel stopped by her office unannounced. "Mom says you sleep better now," he said, half smiling. "I do," Lena admitted. "You ever miss how things were?" She considered the question. "I miss who I thought we were," she said. "Not what we actually were." Daniel nodded. "That makes sense." They talked about ordinary things after that. Movies, dinners, nothing strategic. Normal felt like a victory. Lena introduced a leadership rotation program soon after. No single executive held unchecked power. Department heads reviewed each other's decisions quarterly. "Transparency isn't distrust," she told them. "It's respect." Some resisted at first. Valerie's shadow still lingered. But when problems surfaced early and solutions came faster, resistance softened. Culture changed not through speeches, but through repetition. At the annual shareholders' meeting, Lena stood where her father once had. She didn't mimic his style. She honored his values. "We exist to build things that last," she said. "Products, people, trust." The applause was steady, not thunderous. She preferred it that way. Sustainable approval mattered more than temporary praise. After the meeting, Hannah caught up with her. "We placed 72 veterans this quarter," she said proudly. Lena smiled. "Good work." "No," Hannah corrected gently. "Good system." Lena laughed. "Fair." They walked together through the lobby, watching new hires laugh nervously near the elevators. Beginnings everywhere that evening, Lena visited her mother. They sat in the quiet kitchen that had once held so much truth. "You did the right thing," her mother said. "I know," Lena replied. "You didn't save her," her mother added softly. "I wasn't supposed to," Lena said. They shared tea in comfortable silence, the kind earned through honesty. A final letter arrived from Valerie months later. It didn't ask for anything, it only acknowledged harm and responsibility. Lena read it carefully. Then placed it in a drawer. Not buried, not displayed. Some things were allowed to exist without shaping the future. On the anniversary of her father's passing, Lena stood alone in the training center auditorium. A plaque bearing his name hung near the entrance. She touched it lightly. "We kept your promise," she whispered. The room held the echo of students, laughter, effort. That was the answer. Leadership, Lena had learned, wasn't about winning. It was about refusing to lie, to yourself or to others. It was about choosing the long road when shortcuts offered applause. And it was about knowing when to open doors, and when to close them without guilt. Lena locked up the building and stepped into the evening air. The company was stable. The mission was clear. The past no longer demanded her attention. She walked forward unburdened, carrying only what mattered: purpose, integrity, and the quiet certainty that this time, the story was being told truthfully.